We are two guys, one cup.
It is Sunday, August the 23rd. Everyone relax. This is Two Guys, One Cup, an AFL adjacent podcast. My name is Wil Anderson.
And my name is Charlie Clausen. And I'd love to say this is a wrap-up of round 24, but as we're recording, there is one game still to go that will shape the final six, and that is Hawthorn and West Coast. Have you checked the score? What is it? It's only just started, literally. So Hawks are leading that. So if the Hawks...
Don't they need to win by like 100 points or something?
No, it says here, the shape of the 10.
Okay.
So if the
All
Eagles win, the Hawks would stay in sixth spot and host an elimination final after a week off, after the wildcard weekend. If the Hawks win, they would need to guarantee a top four spot and a away qualifying final. After the Lions win over the Magpies, the Hawks are likely to play the Dockers in Perth in their qualifying final. The Hawks could jump into third despite the Lions win, but they would need to make up 4.4% on Brisbane. So I guess, yeah, that's the 100-point win you're talking about, which, let's be honest, not out of the question.
It is interesting. I mean, like, Sam Mitchell went through West Coast, of course. You know, he's a former West Coast champion, Sam Mitchell. Would you, if you were West Coast, where do your loyalties lie? Do you care if they, belt you by, over 100 points to change their finals position? Is there something about who do you want to play Fremantle? I guess if you're West Coast, you want Fremantle to lose, don't you? Mostly. I think the thing that you want in the finals is Fremantle not to win the premiership if you're West Coast. So
I don't know. Like all the correspondence we've had with Eagles fans, there is a condescending relationship between the Eagles and Fremantle. I think Eagles fans would be okay with Freo winning a couple of games and then humiliating themselves in the grand final. I think that's probably where most Eagles fans, they would be Western Australians up until the grand final.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but I think that's too risky. For a West Coast fan who've had that superiority in that town for all that time, the bragging rights of success on and off the field. But then you've had this huge period where there has been no success on the field. Still sold out memberships, hundreds of thousands, huge support, very successful team, but no real on-field success. And then your little brother, who's had no success, smoked pot through his 20s, did 5 or 6 uni degrees, just been playing in his band down in Fremantle. Is suddenly that little internet, startup that he invested in is starting to pay off, it turns out. And you haven't had a good run for a while.
He's a crypto bro, literally.
Yeah.
Right? Fremantle sponsored by crypto.
And I do think that there is this idea that it gets pretty real in Western Australia that suddenly all that sort of arrogance that West Coast fans have carried with them, that sense of entitlement, in a way that they wouldn't even really truly recognize that much because it has just always been so. They've always been, the first child, the elder sibling, the one who had all the success, the glamour team. And then suddenly it could get pretty real that could all be turned on its head in a real fashion if Freo win the grand final and win it well.
I think this is a fascinating topic to actually put back to the listeners. Going into the finals, we've got wildcard round next weekend. But if your team is out of finals contention, who are you going for and why? I'd be interested to know who you go for and then who you've tied your allegiance to. Because in our Saints chat, we all started having this conversation. And it was obviously about picking teams which we have no beef with. Well, we have no beef. We have beef with lots of teams, but no teams have beef with us. We're a bit like the Bulldogs in that regard. But I was going into bat for Freo, going I'd be happy for Freo. They're the Saints of the West, underachievers. But then one of the guys is no, if they get a flag, then they're on level pegging with us. That means they've got a flag before we've got our second, and that just can't stand. And then I think the majority fell on, well, some people were Melbourne, because Jack Steele, we all love Jack Steele. Happy for Jack Steele. Let's see Melbourne win another flag. So there's a few votes for that. But then the majority kind of settled on Brisbane because of the history of it. Let's go for another three-peat.
And because it would be an incredible story still. The idea that Brisbane could win the thing, they are the Muppet Show still. That's the thing I love about Brisbane is they not just they still are the Muppet Show. But the fact that they seem to have it's Muppet Babies. They've been able to just bring in this next generation of Muppets to fill.
It's when Jim Henson's son took over, and Kermit's voice sounds a little different, but then they bring in like, oh, there's some prawns now that are major characters.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's like there's new characters going viral. It's actually the kids aren't into the old characters. They're into these new ones. There's something so fun about them and the way that they play football. And I know that a lot of people were complaining about the game the other night. Because obviously Brisbane, once Collingwood couldn't win, they rested their players and stopped trying, and Brisbane just like smashed them. But Charlie, that's what we want to see Brisbane do. We want to see Brisbane play in some exhibition matches, because they are also the Harlem Globetrotters of our competition still as well, right? Like they're the ones who are most likely to climb up on at one stage I tuned in and Cam Rayner had a helmet on, and I didn't really know why he was wearing a helmet, but then he kicked an incredible goal and started bashing himself in the head. And I was like, surely whatever the reason is you have a helmet on isn't for bashing yourself in the head.
I reckon Brisbane have the highest number of mercurial players in the sense that they have 4 or 5 guys who might go missing for like a month and then have a game where they just like Lohman, Rayner, Charlie Cameron, like they're all capable of kicking like 5 goals in a game and just lighting it up, sitting in your head. Even Bruce Reville, who I know has been on the outs a bit lately, like there's just something about him. Kitty Coleman, like they've just got a bunch of players like, he's just exciting to watch.
I agree. Like I do think that there is something about the way that, the thing about the Bulldogs is that our sort of bottom 6 also are really mercurial in a lot of ways. That is often what they bring to the table. But they are in and out of the team, it seems, all the time. Like Bevo likes to do that thing where he's like constantly rotating the list, sometimes through necessity, but sometimes I think through his own master plan that he has going on. He's like working on something. But Fagan seems to have the complete opposite approach to that, which is he refuses to drop blokes, like regardless, Charlie Cameron can have like 5 weeks of just like not seeing the football, and Fags just keeps picking him because he knows but if he gets it, if it does light up, that'll be fun to see. Like I don't want to miss out on that. Like there's nothing good about sending any of these players. I mean, Cameron's had a good season. He's probably not the right example this year, but he had it felt like a couple of years, like last year or the year before, he was like, you're struggling a bit, but Fagan just refuses to drop these blokes.
Yeah. And look, Will, I know you haven't been paying the closest attention to Brisbane, but we as footy fans and footy media never learn, because for the last 2 years in a row, Brisbane either start slow or go through a slow patch. And it's like everyone just is like, oh, that's it. The Brisbane dream is done. Do you remember when Brisbane lost like 3 games in a row and it's like, oh, maybe Chris Fagan's past it. Maybe he's lost the players. Do you remember when Brisbane were just like this team that couldn't get it together and they just had a bunch of deadwood, and Ty Gallup was like the lone hand up forward, but like Eric Hipwood was no good. It's like they've always been good. They're a bit like Geelong. I went with a mate to watch Geelong absolutely destroy Richmond on Saturday, and his niece was visiting with her partner, all from Geelong. And I was just sat at the pub watching them, and I was watching Richmond get bashed up, and like, I just felt bags. I'm like, oh, this is like, I feel like I'm watching a Saints game. Like, we're just helplessly watching a team just be so inept and incompetent. But then I said to them, like, because I fell for it, Will. I was like, Dangerfield's looking old. I think that maybe the shine has come off. They're old. They're all old. Like, Geelong are done. The shine has come off them. But no, they're so good. And so I had to ask my friend and his niece, I was like, do you get sick of this? Like, is it tiring? And you know what was the most infuriating thing? They said, yeah.
Yeah.
It does get a bit boring and predictable when you know you're always going to make finals, like you go into most matches confident. I'm like, what is that like? What is that like? I can't even imagine what that would be like.
It's that level of consistent excellence where it feels like they're not even playing the game that they might miss out on the finals. They're just playing the game of what where are we going to be situated when it gets down to the business that we're actually here for, which is like finals, gameplay. And that was my thing on the outside, not paying as much attention to Brizzy as perhaps other people, was I didn't have any of the week to week that was convincing people that they were no good. All I had in my imagination was Brisbane and knowing how good Brisbane are and knowing that, the Will Ashcroft's probably looking at his third Norm Smith in a row. He loves winning medals. His dad's medal, Norm Smith's medals. What year how old were you when you won the Norm Smith medal? 20? Yeah. 21? Yeah. 22? Maybe. Why not?
I mean, that's the thing. It's like, he's probably going to finish his career with through that period, more Norm Smiths than, I don't know, birthday presents. What are you going to give a guy who's won a Norm Smith? There's no present is going to top it. Maybe the Brownlow. I guess he'll have about 3 or 4 of those.
If he wins 3 in a row, if he wins 3 Norm Smiths in a row, they should rename the Norm Smith medal the Will Ashcroft medal.
Who has the record for the most Norm Smiths? Steve Johnson has multiple, doesn't he?
No, he's got one. Dustin Martin won a couple, right? And Luke Hodge
he was
won a
Mr.
couple.
September. What about Luke Hodge?
Yeah, I reckon he won 2. Maybe.
Dustin Martin holds the record, having won Best on Ground award 3 times. Yeah,
3,
okay.
but not 3 in a row.
Will Ashcroft has 2. Luke
Hodge
Hodge has 2. Andrew McLeod has 2. Gary Ayres has 2.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, Andrew McLeod. Andrew McLeod, have you seen Andrew McLeod, by the way? Just
how he looks like he's 25 years old.
How he looks like he could still play AFL football.
That's crazy.
What is the same age as me? I'm considering what to do in my retirement or where I might lay down and die of old age.
He's not the same age as you, is he?
I think so.
That can't be right. I thought he was younger than me. That can't be. Or maybe, no, he can't be younger than me because he won his Norm Smiths in 97, 98. So he had to be older than me.
He is 2 years younger than me.
Okay,
but
so
we're basically the same age. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
God.
So yeah.
Yeah, I know. I mean, that's the one thing that I always feel like as I'm sort of pushing towards 50, and it's just harder to keep fit and stuff. I always sort of comfort myself by going, well, look at all those professional footballers used to admire as a young man, and they can't keep it up. They go into the media and stuff, and they let themselves go a little bit. You can let yourself go a little bit, and then Andrew McLeod comes along and is like, no, I'm going to look better now than I did when I was playing.
And that surprises me too. I don't know why. But when I watched him play, just because of the exuberant way that he played his football, I imagined he would be one of those people that really just enjoyed himself off the field when his playing days finished and wouldn't I have no real reason. That was the vibe that I was getting, but he's the opposite. He looks amazing.
All right. So we're 5 minutes to go in the first quarter and Hawthorn are close to 30 points up. So
okay.
I feel like they need to win by over 80 points to jump to third.
Okay. Well, if you're 30 ahead in the first quarter, we are on track for that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So does that mean, so that means third plays second. So they'll take on Sydney. In Sydney. And the reasoning being from people that it would be more difficult to play Sydney, but Sydney, as a football, obviously what a fucking horrible week for every person who is, we're a comedy, AFL adjacent comedy podcast, and it's hard to just say anything other than sympathy for everyone who has been hurt by what has happened here. Yes. Let me just say, I was very impressed the way that the language within 24 hours changed from most football shows to put the alleged victim front and center and say, this is the most important thing. But then they would often say, but now we need to talk about football issues. We neither talk about serious issues or even football issues. So I think enough has been said about it that we don't need to weigh in.
But only to say that, there was some sort of thing that people were thinking, which was obviously they're affected, a lot of people out, etc. Everybody knows why. But they played well as a football team today. And so, that thinking may or may not be right, but it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things.
And have Freo got the staggers? Maybe playing Freo's not such a bad thing. I mean, at this Carlton rise, you sort of were joking when we had that listener write in and sort of recap our first season of Two Guys, One Cup, and you were joking how I make these predictions and they come true.
It's
and
Charlie.
we sort of made fun of Richmond.
You might be the main character, but in a way that does not serve you
me
at all, which makes it even worse that you've got all this power and it just hasn't worked for you.
I can't, like you predicted it. You said, I was like, oh, I'm enjoying this like Carlton rise. And you're like, oh, just wait till you start paying attention to the fans. And I did. And now I'm not enjoying the ride anymore. And the fact that they're playing such a irrepressible is the best word for it. It's an irrepressible like game. There's so much buy-in. And it's so interesting because I watched a lot of Carlton at the start
They're
of the year.
the informed team in the competition. This is the thing that
people
keep
the same
talking
personnel.
about.
It's not like they suddenly changed. Like it's the same personnel, but they look completely different, and I just can't get my head around it.
I mean, it made me feel good about the Bulldogs that we tied with them. I was like, if we can tie with a team as good as Carlton, we might be okay because every team that they've taken on, they are the genuine bottom boys. Like if you're talking about the idea of a team coming from nowhere, a team that wouldn't have been in the finals if there weren't this new version of the finals, this wild card, who genuinely every team. Because if you look at the teams above them on the ladder and you look at their record against those teams in the last 12 weeks, they've beaten most of them. They would go into these finals with no fear against any of the best teams in the competition. With nothing to lose. They're playing with house money, nothing to lose, everything to win, and a team that apparently is good enough to beat all those teams.
Yeah. I just wish their fans would just like focus on their own team's success rather than other teams' failings.
No,
which
they can't do that.
They can't do
Charlie.
it.
They've only been waiting for success so that they can focus on other teams' failings. That's their real passion. I don't think you understand.
I'm happy for them. I'm just thinking that maybe Freo had nothing to play for in that game. I don't know if the idea of you flirting with form, I don't know if that's a real thing. If a coach could even say to his players, hey, take care of yourselves, bruise-free football. I don't know. They look like they were getting hunted. I'd love to think that Freo just kind of were, there's not just preserving themselves, but like they got hunted. They got harassed. They got bullied out of that game. And it was quite shocking to see, like Patrick Voss, who's such a barometer for Fremantle, to see him like run down in the goal square and like three Blues surround him and push and shove and him to get up quite meekly. And it's like, oh my God, like, this is real. Like the Carlton wave is real. And if they go all the way, I just may quit supporting football.
How far would you, this is the West Coast Fremantle question, right? How far would you be happy to see them go for the storyline of the year? Because I think I would be very happy to see them roll. And depending on who it was they were coming up against, I personally would be happy to see this story, just for the story of it, go all the way. Like cool runnings this. Like I know they didn't win in cool runnings, but I like that idea of, I think it would be fun. What an incredible story for the competition. Like something that we need desperately now.
Like, it.
But of course. So how far would you be happy to see them go?
I would let them have a prelim. Or I'd let them make a grand final and not win. I'd be okay with that. They can
lose
make a
to
grand
Brisbane.
final.
Would you be happy for Carlton to lose to Brisbane? So Brisbane,
Rocky style.
Right?
Like people forget Rocky didn't win the first fight in the first Rocky. He lost, but that was not the point. He went the distance. That was his challenge. So I'd be happy for Carlton to go the distance. They've got a big Italian fan base. Rocky, Carlton, same thing. So
if Carlton,
let him go the distance.
If Carlton made a grand final, it would not matter what the result of the grand final was. That is one of the most incredible football stories that there has ever been in the history of the competition, I would say. So that would be a win-win for the AFL. Like Brisbane, franking their credentials as one of the greatest modern day era teams. And I think that would be still fun. Carlton making the grand final, not quite getting there in the end, but that's still their grand final, still the greatest footy story, that we've ever heard of. Great for the AFL and the wildcard if they manage to make it to the grand final as well. But your life isn't ruined by Carlton, and then they signed maybe Fraser to like a 10-year contract based on the fact that he's got him to a grand final and they never made the finals again. Are you happy? Would that be
Yes.
okay?
Yes, totally. I like the sound of that. What about this talk of them being into Buku? Do you want to hang on to Buku? I know he's been, when he's up against like a monster, he gets beaten, but I think Buku's had a pretty good year.
I think Buku would. Look, I think the Bulldogs would love to keep him. I think he's a player who has been asked to play a role that he would be better if we had a couple of more like solid backmen
Bigger
and he could
key
play.
defenders.
Right? Yeah. He's had to cover like for roles that aren't his roles to be played in a team. And if he went to Carlton, you could see how with Wiedering and Dean and these sort of players, he could imagine that he would have more capacity to maybe play the sort of game that he would want to play. And obviously they seem like a team that is on the rise. I mean, we don't need to lose Backman.
No,
that's. I mean, the fact
question
that
is, can you pay him like if Carlton come in with a big offer because they can because they've offloaded Charlie Curnow and whoever else, Tom Takoning and Jack Savani last year, they could probably pay overs. Are you willing to match overs?
You know what? You can have him for whatever you want to pay him, and all we would like in return, honestly, is Jacob Wiedering. So, if you could just give us,
he was good too. Oh my God. Like against like Josh Tracy too, the most informed forward. And it's like, because I've bought into the narrative as well. People are like, they don't need Jacob Weeder and they've got Harry Dean. It's like, well, now they got both. Why the fuck would they get rid of him? It's the most
mostly
I've been saying there is.
Mostly I've been saying that I need Jacob Wiedering because I was hoping that the Bulldogs might get Jacob Wiedering. I've had a real agenda behind me pushing that.
Yeah, right. Because we know at Icon Park they're big fans of Two Guys One Cup. Terry has told them to tune in.
I just, sometimes you don't know where these whispers come from. You've got to get the word out there. You've got to start self-generating some rumors and some content that might serve you. The Bulldogs, here's what I'm going to say. I've got my Bulldogs jumper on tonight, which you asked me where I got this. I bought this at Homey. Do you know that brand Homey?
I do.
So they've done a range of, so there's one of these in every AFL team's colours, and they are so comfy, and they're just like kind of more fashion jumpers, but in team colours. And
it's like if Daryl Summers was a Bulldog supporter.
Yeah, and it's so cozy, and I love it. And Homey is if people don't know, is all that they support youth homelessness, and that's all their profits go to that. So it's a really good cause as well that I love to give a plug. But the Bulldogs, I will say, if there's nothing more bevo than going into a game against Max Gawn, who'll probably get his 8th or 9th All Australian, this year, with no ruckman. That's the tactic that no one's ever used against Max Gawn. Is we won't play a ruckman. That's what we'll do. Rory Lobb, Paul, I have gone full circle on Rory Lobb because he has gone from a forward who I hated, who I just never thought contributed to the team, and I didn't know why we were recruited, to almost all it took, Charlie, was for Rory Lobb to break Jared Waitley in a way that only tweets about Graham Myers had previously. And it turned his whole life around. It was it was a real you've disappointed dad moment, where they get the cops to talk to you to give you a bit of a scare. And Rory Lobb is he's gone, I've broken Jared. Jared Waitley has done an editorial about me having to get my shit together. And he has done whatever the Bulldogs have asked for him and done it all so well since. You can't fault.
That's not full circle. If it was full circle, you'd hate him again. Or is that where you're leading to? You've done a 180 on him. I've done a 180.
Yeah. That's a good point. Actually,
I was wondering where you're going with this. He's going to get back to it, and now he's amazing to it. But now I hate him again. He's useless.
No, I don't understand circles. That's the problem. Sorry.
Yeah, right.
I've turned around in a circle. It ended up way back where I was.
The Doggies. I don't know. I saw them win on the weekend and was it's just so funny with the Dogs. They never give you anything Like, apart from, I guess, that 2016 final series, but even that was like sort of edge of your seat kind of stuff. You could have beaten Carlton last week. You beat the D's pretty handily this week. But Aaron Norton does his ankle. So you can't go into next week with any confidence. It's just like the Dogs just never.
Nah, it's good, mate. No forwards, no backs. Perfect. That's just where we want it.
Like no forwards, an undersized back line,
No
Bont
ruck.
on one leg. Ed Richards, though, like,
Yeah,
I mean,
he's good.
that's a good news story to come out this year. And also, what's happened to Joel Frazier? Mini Bont. Like, he's just gone off the boil completely. He's lost all his confidence. What happened?
Yeah, well, I think like he's early in his career still. Like I think it's that classic thing of he had a good year and then for whatever reason it hasn't quite happened as good again this year. Maybe people are paying more attention to him. They worked out his game a bit. Maybe it's just that blues after it. Like, it happens, right? When you're a But also the Bulldogs have had one of those years where everybody's been in and out of form, and there has never been that consistency for people to be able to get a consistent game plan going.
I'd still love the Doggies to just, like Carlton, are going to throw some haymakers from the wild card. If the Doggies could, like if the analogy is a barroom brawl and Carlton are just tipping over tables and like, just swinging at everybody, you're the little guy who's kind of like, getting a few extra kicks in on the side. Let Carlton kind of get all the attention, but then the Doggies just sneak in and just take out a couple teams on the way.
Well, I'd love us to, because we're going to play Collingwood, right? That would be, I reckon that's the Bulldogs grand final. If we manage, because we got into the 8 in the end, which is actually, like, right? Like
that's so weird.
But we did, right? Like we got into the 8, which makes it a better result than last year. So you can kind of give us a mini tick for that we actually have, under some tougher circumstances, I think this year, and a pretty tough draw, we've actually managed to scrape our way into, like, even the old final systems, we would have made it. We didn't have to have the wild card to get in, it turned out, I think that's a tick for the Bulldogs.
Yeah.
I think the big tick, and I think I could walk away from this season pretty happy, genuinely, is if we beat Collingwood. I feel like is a fair fight for us because we're banged up and they're banged up. So I feel like that's just one of those ones where we both go in. It'll feel like a huge final because obviously Collingwood at the MCG, it's just going to be massive. So
there'll be 80,000, 60,000 Collingwood fans.
Yeah. And if the Bulldogs can beat Collingwood at the MCG, then I reckon that's, regardless of what happens after that, that would be a good result for the Bulldogs this season. And you kind of walk away from the season despite its challenges, go, okay, we had a crack. But if we lose or get really beaten really convincingly, then I think you end up being still a bit disappointed with how the season went.
Well, I think, no, it'd be Geelong or the Crows. If Hawthorn get up tonight and the Dogs win, then you're playing Geelong or the Crows.
Yeah.
And so the Crows you're okay with. I mean, you beat them over there once before and you'd have to do it again. The Cats, nah. Yeah. The Cats, nah. The Cats are good. Shannon Neal has become a good footballer. That snuck up on me.
Hasn't he? Yeah.
I thought he was just a big doofus, but no, he can play because he's a Geelong player.
Remember when Tom Hawkins was a big doofus? They love a big doofus down in Geelong. You give Geelong a doofus and they will carve a full forward out of that doofus. Billy Brownless. They have a long history of recruiting a country bumpkin
Barry Stoner,
and rolling them
doofus,
into Geelong.
Big redheaded doofus.
Big doofus.
Reece Stanley, the biggest of the doofuses.
Doofus. Right? I'm like, why is this doofus playing for another club? Get him down to Geelong.
The Saints lost to Gold Coast, which is just just the piece de resistance on a shit season. Just a milestone game for Brad Hill. Dead rubber.
Brad Hill's been good.
He's been great.
What's been going on with Brad Hill? Why is he playing so well?
Moved to halfback, I think, so you get plenty of ball. And I don't know, he's just one of those. He's a bit like Silk. He's just one of those kind of evergreen, like hard runner players. Like he's not a contested player, so he's not getting banged up like that. Most of his injuries tend to be like tissue related, but I don't know. He's actually, watching him run, he runs more like a track and field star. Like he's just got that, he just glides around and, he's not carrying a lot of weight or whatever, But he's also just like, seems to be the happiest guy going around. A friend of ours used to be the doctor at Hawthorn. He sent me a photo. He ran into Brad the other day and he said Brad was always his favourite player at Hawthorn because he just genuinely, there's certain players who just, a bit, I think Isaac Smith was a bit like this. They just, or Jeremy Cameron, they just seem to like playing footy. Like they don't take the rest of it that seriously. And so the idea that you could be on like, I don't know, $800,000 or $900,000 a year for this thing that you kind of think is a bit of fun. Like that's like I think you've won at life. If you can enjoy your job, your high stress, high pressure job that you earn really good money for, but you know, you've got instant feedback on social media and stuff. If you can manage to still front up to that job and treat it like it's Saturday morning with the boys, you know, or whatever whenever you first fell in love with the game, that's awesome. It's so good.
I agree. And I feel like we don't hero that enough as a perspective, like because we are so obsessed with this like high performance culture.
Well, certain ex-footballers in the media, Will, they don't like to see players laughing and shaking hands after a game. It should be like, you got to feel it. You got to be in pain. It should suck.
No, it's great. Yeah, games should suck. What a great opinion to have about the world. You know what? We invented this game so you can feel like it's...
So you can feel miserable about it.
You can feel miserable and you should feel sad and you should not enjoy... Are you suggesting to me, and I know who you're talking about, of course, but like that literally... It's so ridiculous when you put it like this. Yeah, you shouldn't have fun playing a game. You get to play a game for a living. It is the greatest... Like, you've won already at your life that you get to play, like what your job is playing a game. Just a game we invented for the sake of entertainment and you get to play it. And also in return, you also get paid much more money than most people in society would ever earn for their jobs or across even their lifetime. And just for playing this game, right?
You get to play a game, not only with your mates, but against your mates, because most of you grew up playing the game together. So after the siren goes, you'll see your mate wearing a different jumper, but you've known that guy since you were 12 years old. So you might go over and have a chat with him. How good. Life's amazing.
You shouldn't go and have a chat. What you should do is keep an expression on your face and cry.
Punch the ground.
Be sad. Punch, that's right. Yeah, be mean to everybody on the way home. It's a fucking game. Like, grow up. Like these people who take it so seriously that they are like, oh no, like it's compete from the minute the whistle is blown to the minute the whistle is blown at the other end. Compete. You're there to compete against each other. So compete against that's like the thing that you're meant to be doing. But otherwise, be a human being with like good principles and be kind to each other and like laugh with your mates.
I've heard Joey tell a story, Joey Montagna, that like he and Dal and I think like Stephen Milne, they took the game quite lightly. They weren't serious preparers, not like Nick Revolt, who, you know, famously would sprint 2K and be vomiting before he ran out. So they would often go into like the massage room just to hang out and just away from all the stress of all the stress heads. And that Ross Lyon was walking past and heard them laughing about something and came in and sort of glared at them and was like, to the effect of like, you better have your head screwed on, like you better be focused on the game. Sure enough, they lose. And Ross, after the game, was like, oh, I knew it. I knew it. You three, you didn't have your head screwed on. That's like, Jesus Christ.
And by the way, I bet if you ran like actual analytics over the times when people were having a good time versus the time where people were scared or too tired. Like, because obviously you want to be in that flow state as a professional athlete where like you've seen it with teams, the way that they develop, right? Like where early on when they're trying to like put things in principle, they're overthinking it. They're too worried about playing the game. And then you get to that sort of Brisbane level of performance where there is game plans. It's not as if they are all just freewheeling constantly, but they all have such confidence and permission in each other and what each other is capable of and what they can do that it just feels like they're constantly improvising.
Yeah. That football commentator he didn't want to name, he made an interesting observation about the Saints on Friday. He said that the Saints should consider trading Cal Wilkie He said that the
To
Saints
the
should trade
Bulldogs,
Cal
actually.
Wilkie.
Yeah, that's actually a good idea. No, I'm behind this. Cal
Yeah, well,
Wilkie to the Bulldogs. Great. No,
the
I don't
Bulldogs
need to hear
definitely-
more. Great idea.
The Bulldogs definitely
actually,
came
I've always
up.
yeah.
So he said that we should trade our captain and possibly our best player for the last 2 or 3 years, Cal Wilkie. And then in the same hour, he also said, Russell Lyon's on borrowed time. If they don't win a final next year, then he should get sacked. So we should trade out our captain and our best player, but we should also win a final next year. I don't know how I'm going to square that. I'm not really sure how we do that.
Yeah, well, the problem has been that, your captain's too good a player and he's throwing out the balance of the rest of the team.
Right,
So,
that's right.
yeah. So I think he should go to the Bulldogs. What do you
It's
need?
the Melbourne
What do you need
principle.
for Wilkie? What do
Get
you
rid of
need?
your 2 best players. Watch the team get better. One of the frequent talking points on this show is culture.
Yeah.
I've always been fascinated when people talk about like a club's culture and what does it mean.
Yes.
And got a great email here from a listener named Kieran. It's very long, so I won't get into all of it. But he's a football historian and has read a lot of historical literature about the VFL/AFL. And he's using the comparison of St Kilda and Hawthorn to explain what he believes culture is. So he says, my analysis, for what it's worth, is success is driven by 4 attributes: coach, players, administration, and the 4th element is luck. The better the administration, coach, and players, then you may end up with more luck. However, what that really means is the better the administration, coach, and players are, the less the club relies on luck. Got that?
Yeah. Okay. Yep. Okay.
Yep. I also think it's true that if your club
Yes,
is a
you
bit
don't
lucky,
need luck. You've got a genuine kind of level of like in the game, so that when luck comes along, you're in a good position to take advantage of the luck.
Exactly.
Like everyone might get lucky occasionally, but sometimes when the luck comes along, people aren't in the right shape to take advantage of the luck.
well, what's that cliche about luck? It's preparation meets opportunity or something like that. Is that what they say about luck? Preparation meets
I
opportunity?
mean, I don't know if they add the or something like that at the end of it. It really undermines.
Yeah, the point. So he says, I think if it's true, if your club is a bit lucky, then there might be more time to then embed management, coaching, and players. So say something like, you could argue the Bulldogs were lucky in 2016, but that opportunity enabled them to get more sponsors in, which means they can get better administration, they can attract bigger players. Although I don't have any scientific proof, I think St Kilda provide a good example. Historically, they have not had good administration. So the times they have found a good coach or good players, they needed a bit more luck, but they didn't get it. In the mid-60s to the early 70s, they had Alan Jeans as a coach and they had some good players in their team. They lost the 65 grand final, won in 66, then lost 71. 1 out of 3 meant there was not enough goodwill to embed a culture of good management. They reverted to bad habits and lost players and their coach. Alan Jeans later went to Hawthorn, had good management and good players. The Saints' losses in 2009 and 2010 were unlucky, but a better club would have created more opportunities. So why did Hawthorn have good management? Well, maybe it's because they were lucky to win 71, and that helped cement some good practices that then got them on a roll by the mid-70s. When they lost 2 grand finals in a row in 84 and 85, they had enough structure in place not to panic. They kept doing the right things and they kept winning. Richmond was a successful club from the 60s to 82, but their aggressive win-at-all-cost management then went feral. The club lost its way, sacking coaches every year or two, losing money and losing games. It took a long time for them to get stable management, get a good coach, and some players with a bit of luck in 2017, then things happened. Now they're being tested. It'll be interesting to see if they can stay the course of the rebuild. I will finish with an observation from Jack Dyer, Captain Blood, in his biography in 1965, where he analyses each club. I reckon you'll like the St Kilda section in full, so I'll be happy to scan the pages and send them to you. No, having read this quote, I don't want you to send me this scan. This is from Captain Blood. He says, the Saints are inclined to do silly things. I can remember the origin of the crest on their Guernsey over the player's heart. Came after a torrid match against North Melbourne, where they finished with only 16 fit players, and the Saints committee decided to add the crest to signify courage. If Collingwood or Richmond players were given a crest every time they displayed courage, we would have 100 Guernseys to fit the crests on. It made them a laughing stock of the league.
Everyone gets a ribbon.
Oh my God. Oh, it makes so much sense. Horrendous. Just a horrendous team to support and go for. And I'm so glad I got this tattoo of a saint on my arm, because if I'd waited for a premiership, it would never happen. So I'm glad I got it out of the way.
I am interested as a St Kilda supporter. Is there a team in the finals that well, give me both. Is there a team that you just absolutely, and this is through the St Kilda prism, I think a bit more. Is there a team that you think most St Kilda fans don't want to see have success, and a team that you think St Kilda fans would be happy, maybe from the group chat and the fact that you were talking about this? Like, what's the vibe on who you'd be happy to see be successful versus who you wouldn't?
Pretty safely, you could say no to Geelong, just because, again, there's this one-sided rivalry where, both teams came good in the 2000s. They went on to actually be good, and we didn't. And they have been like an exemplary football club ever since that point. So I think there would be, if we're the misfit brother, they're the kind of straight-A student who's gone on to university and, blah, 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 blah.
Done the occasional side contract around maybe head injuries that,
I'd say that most Saints fans would be okay about Freo, just because there's no bad blood. St Kilda and Freo have a very quirky history. There was that game where the umpire marked the ball. There was whispers in the sky. Yes. There was Siren Gate. Like, we've had a lot of weird ass games with Freo.
You're also like, sometimes this happens in like friendship groups where like the partner, like, two of the friends end up married to the same guy at some point, right? And instead of them not getting along, they get along well because they're the only people who really understand what each other have been through. And I do think there is that sort of shared Ross history. You've both dated the same guy. Oh, yeah. He used to be married to you. He left you for them, but then he went back to you. And so you have this weird sort of like,
Well, we had that letter last week from that Freo supporter who's like, Charlie, I've been where you've been, man. Like, don't get sucked into the Ross. You're a believer, but you got to get rid of him. He's the thing that's holding your club back. My concern about, and I think that Ross he's in the final year of his contract next year, but he has such a good relationship with Naz. like I've also heard rumors about them wanting to trade Marcus Windhager, who's like Naz's best friend. And I'm like, you fucking crazy? Like, when we wanted to sign Naz last year, we were like, oh, who's your cousin? Text him. We'll give him a contract. Like, we should be giving Naz whatever coach he wants, whatever players he wants. And that's what I think Kieran means, and he's done St Kilda have a terrible culture.
I think this is also probably Ross has had a look at what's going on and he goes, well, I've got two choices here. One is that I can get this team to actually play in the finals, but that seems quite hard right now. But I've got an extra backup plan, which is make myself Naz's best mate. So the club thinks that they cannot sack me because Naz will go too.
Port Adelaide, getting rid of Zach Butters.
Well, not getting rid of him. I think that's unfair.
That's understood.
Well, I think they will choose to match whatever offer they get offered.
I was just perusing AFL.com today, and it said Port star commits to staying at Port. I'm like, fuck, what? There's been a twist in the tail. I opened the article. It's Ollie Wines after the game. It's like, was anyone asking what Ollie Wines up to in the next couple of years? I was shocked that that got a headline.
We weren't even aware that you were still playing, Ollie. I appreciate it, but
Port star to stay at Alberton. It's like, Ollie Wines. Okay, cool, sure.
Yeah, no, I mean, there is that thing of like, Ollie's had an okay season actually, and former Brownlow medalist, good player, has had a good career, Ollie Wines, but it is the Butters, this was reported during the week, right? Like that there was movers outside his house in South Australia, so like he's moving. Probably. Like, we all think that he's going. Like, we just don't know where that truck's going.
Why are there movers now? Like, there's 6 months of an off-season.
It honestly feels like
2 months before you have to get back into pre.
You can't wait to get out of there. Like,
it's too early. It seems ridiculous.
He hasn't made a decision, but they've moved their stuff out, so it's not looking good. He's going to put everything in the trucks and then just get them to circle around the neighborhood until the decision is made.
Jake Stringer is looking for a fourth club. So Giants been a
is he
pretty
looking
bad
for a return? Is he looking to get remarried as well? Back to
Would
the
you take him
Bulldogs,
back at
maybe?
the Dogs? I think that could be a good story.
I mean, it could be a good story, but like, I just think he was like not acting like a good person at the time. I think it would be hard for people who were around at the time to welcome him back. You would have to think that he was like, it would have to be him saying, I think the only way that would possibly happen if Jake Stringer was like, hey, I wasn't a great person, in a lot of ways when I was at the Bulldogs the first time, and I feel like I owe the club a whole lot, and I'd love to go back and sort of and you really felt like he was doing it for the right reasons, maybe, but I don't think so. Where does he go? Geelong as well? They'll get him. They'll probably get him.
I don't know.
Collingwood?
I think he said
I heard Collingwood.
He's saying he wants to go to Collingwood, but everyone says that. I don't know. Like, I'd take him in the Saints. Like, he kicked 40. He said like 47 goals this year or something.
Yeah.
And we need
He's
forwards.
a good player.
Like,
yeah.
I'd take him in the Saints. Why not?
Stringer at the Saints.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like a good fit, right? There's something about it.
Doesn't feel good for him.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, it feels like at the moment he's got two paths.
Yeah.
He could really finish this off well, or he could finish this off in St Kilda. And
I feel bad for the Giants because they are about to, it feels like, they had a rough year with injuries and stuff, but it feels like they're going to go through their first rebuild since they've had a build, but they've never had a rebuild.
Yeah. Well, that's okay. Isn't it time? It's probably time.
Wow,
the problem was
probably not a great time to go through a rebuild when you're getting 8,000 people to your home.
No, that's the best time. No one's coming anyway.
Yeah,
what do you got to lose? Do you know what I mean?
Like, they might get some
honestly,
5,000.
That's like saying, oh, no, you don't want to leave the casino now. You've still got $50. Like, it's not, like, you've spent your mortgage, like you've lost the kids' education fund, but don't worry, you've still got that 50. You might as well roll the dice. Like, no one's coming anyway. This is the time to knock down a rebuild. If you're actually going to give it a crack at, because you've got two choices now, which is shut up shop and just shut the whole thing down and move it somewhere else or whatever you might do, use some of the players for Tasmania or whatever. There's a way you could sell it for parts. And make the competition better, probably, where you just said, we're just going to split up everyone from GWS. They can go into a draft or whatever. Everyone gets better. And it means that, or you get a compensation pick out of GWS for Tassie, or there'd be a bunch of creative ways you could make it work for the competition. But otherwise, if we're genuinely investing in this being a successful team, there's no way to patchwork it at the moment. They've got to build a new generation, and they've got to build a cult. They've got to build an opportunity around it somehow. They've got to work out what they're doing, and they're genuine diehard fans. Well, that's okay. If they're genuine diehard fans, they'll it's not like they're going to have a prop. They've got some good players. There was a time when the
Swans were only getting 8,000 to the SCG, and before Ron Barassi went there, they were in a similar position, which Alex Williams.
Well, if GWS, right, if Collingwood lose 20% of their fans if they're not in the finals, let's just say audience. That's a huge loss for the AFL, right? That's hundreds of thousands of people over the season if Collingwood have 20% less crowds at their games, right? If GWS have 20% less crowds at the games, the AFL won't even notice.
Yeah.
It will so little affect their,
2,000 people.
Right? It means nothing to them. This is the perfect time for them to have a rebuild, I think. If their best option is not having to do a rebuild. But if you have to do one, just may as well just start, because you have some, there are some people who are looking for an opportunity to leave who you probably can still get some value out of and create opportunity for your next generation, I think.
They have been a bit of a punching bag this year, especially Adam Spencer, who always it's that thing of I'm not racist, but Adam Spencer will always be like, look, I don't want to say this, but, and then he'll just trash the Giants, their attendance, everything about them. Alex sent me a message, I think, after maybe I had Adam on, or maybe because I'd been sort of a couple of weeks in a row talking about how I feel worried for the Giants and like those numbers are not sustainable. And there was some report that came out earlier in the year that I think community participation in the Western suburbs is really low, like less than 100 people in the entire of Western Sydney are playing AFL, like something pretty stark. And
I
Alex
mean, it would be much better value for money if they took the money they were spending on GWS and just bribed kids to play AFL football.
Well,
Like,
that's what they do. Like that's literally. So Iona, they brought Auskick to Northern New South Wales, her primary school, and she came home with like this flyer, and like it's to sign up for Auskick and whatever holiday programs they've got. But all Iona said to me was they're going to give me a free footy and a sticker pack. I was like, okay, I'll sign you up for it. And then when we went on Friday, it was the first day. It's like a 4-week Auskick clinic. First of all, she loved it. And I was stoked because she's been playing soccer all this year. And it's like, I'm happy for her to play soccer, but I only watch soccer when the Matildas or the Socceroos are playing. The rest of the time, like I don't pay any attention to soccer, and I don't particularly like watching soccer. And I was like, oh man, like I'm trying to get into the AFL, but she likes the Suns, but she doesn't even really know what they are or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I signed her up for this thing, and I knew it was because the free football, the sticker pack, the whatever other goodies she's getting given. But then when we went down and we did the Auskick, like it's like an hour long, like skill session or whatever, she loved it and has been requesting every day since to go out and have a kick of the footy. Like we went to this festival today, this like a fundraiser for a primary school, and she made me bring the football so we could have a kick in the car park. And I'm like, oh boy, like I'm like, don't fuck this up, Charlie. Like you might have someone in the house who wants to watch football with you. You've just got to play it cool, Clausen. Play it real
just
cool.
Don't go, just don't go too far. Just not too much too soon. Just like
not too much too soon,
right?
So I'm going to keep it at this level where it's just like it's all fun and like it's she just loves having the ball in her hands and kicking it and stuff. So I'm like, all right, in my head I'm strategizing how I can seed the love of Aussie rules. And it's like, well, I'll take her to see some AFLW games because, like that, the Suns won't be playing, the men's Suns won't be playing, but the women will be playing. That's a good opportunity.
Yeah,
won't be too busy. They do a lot more activations at the AFLW.
Exactly.
So that's
more
kind of
fun.
a good sweetener. Get her into
fun stuff going on. Also,
probably get her down the boundary line to high five.
Be it, right?
One of the girls. I'll get her a jumper and I'll just see it like that. And I'm totally willing. I've given up on the St Kilda thing. Like, I don't mind. Like, she can back for whoever she wants. But the idea of her being excited to watch a game of football with me, I'm just like, don't fuck this up. I've got one shot, one opportunity to seize everything I ever wanted in one moment. Am I going to capture it or let it slip?
The sad thing is it isn't one moment. It's now this like years-long plan
project
that you have to keep
Well, that's the thing too, because one of the coaches at the Auskick was your old school kind of like barking orders, and I'm like, oh, Iona's not going to respond to that. So I took Iona away from the edge of the group, so the coach was still barking, but I was like, let's just hang out. We'll just kick the footy. It'll be all right. It'll be all right.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you've got to keep her away from things that would push her away from the game.
Well, the first thing I said to her is, if you lose, you've got to be really upset and don't shake anyone's hand or be smiling or joking after a game.
Even but Dad, they're my friends. No, particularly if they're your friends.
No, they're your enemies. They're your mortal enemies. Do we want to make some predictions for the wild card round now that we know what the games are?
All right.
So we know that you're going to be taking on. Who are you taking on?
Not me. Collingwood at the MCG on I think Friday night. They're saying it probably will be. So I will actually try to go to that. I think
2 banged up teams. The Pies. Is this a back? Does this count? I mean, basically, it's backs against the wall versus bottom boys, right?
Yeah, true.
What has more power?
And we're both banged up. We're banged up, backs against the wall.
Banged up, bottom boys, banged up, backs against the walls. Good alliteration, at least.
Yeah, right. Like there's
I'd love the Channel 7 or Fox Footy promo to incorporate a bit of our analysis. They're the banged up bottom boys.
Just like in one of those grabs that they do in between, like people saying quite. So, all right. Here's what I would say. You've got the storyline of for the last few years that probably the number 1 and number 2 players in the game have been Nick Dacos and Marcus Bontempelli. So you get to see them play against each other in a big, game with a lot on the line. I think that's cool. Bont had a baby last week, by the way. Congratulations.
Is that why I had the week off the other week?
Yeah, part of
Right.
the reason. And so little baby Bont, which is nice, but also just two good players,
son.
right?
Did he have a boy or a girl?
Father-daughter. But I'm happy.
Well, that's good.
But that's good. I'm very happy for I'm happy for either of the AFL M or W teams to have success out of the Bont.
More Bontempelli. You can't go wrong.
Yeah, exactly. I just hope he doesn't stop. Like, I hope he's got plans to keep going. So, all right. So Bont and Dacos is pretty fun. Two teams that are quite banged up. Two quirky coaches. Like, you got that sort of Ted Lasso style Craig McRae, vibe. You've got the, kind of
Song,
Bevo of it
guitar
all.
playing, skateboarding, no thick neck.
They're two of the quirkier
Fake
coaches, I think, going around in the league, right?
I mean, if you described Bevo to someone who had
Yeah.
never seen him and you said he's got veneers, he's got a neck that's as thick as his shoulders, and he rides a skateboard and he plays guitar.
Yeah, if you had to draw, if you were seen leaving a crime and you had to describe him to the court artist, then they'd be just like, nah, this doesn't look like a real person.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess, are you expecting, well, the big question mark is, does Aaron Norton get up to play? It doesn't look like it. That
He'll
seems
be.
like a pretty-
I think he'll be fine.
Really?
I'll jab him up. Yeah.
They'll jab him up. I mean, it was
He'll
funny
play, but whether he'll be able to be as effective as he would ordinarily be, that's a different
Bevo's
question. But I think he'll
press
play.
conference after that game was as a great an example of wishful thinking, or like magic.
What did
What do they call it? Manifestation,
Bevo say?
magical thinking.
Yeah.
Where he's like, oh, no, it wasn't too bad. It was just like a lateral strain. It's like, mate, he could fucking barely walk.
All right. Well, apparently they're saying in the group chat that it feels like Norton's going to be okay. Not okay, but like will be able to play. That English is a question mark. Like there is a chance that he could play, but probably not.
And your winning record is dog shit, no pun intended, without Tim English.
Hasn't been great, but he didn't play on the weekend, and we beat Melbourne, who played pretty well, and have the greatest ruckman of the modern generation. So apparently, it's not that important.
All right, and then I'm going to tip the doggies. I'm going to tip the doggies to win. I think the
Thanks,
Pies have
I
done very
appreciate
well, and I have not been enjoying this narrative. I like the narrative better at the start of the year. It's like Collingwood are old and they've got no young players. Now it's all like, Craig McRae is the greatest development coach in the history of the AFL, and he should be coach of the year for what he's done with this young, inexperienced list.
They've had their turn. Time, it's fine.
The last
Like,
150 years has been Collingwood's turn.
I feel like a big game in the Bulldogs. I mean, obviously, I hope the Bulldogs win, and I am going to go to the game, so I hope the Bulldogs win.
Then the other wildcard match is, of course, Melbourne versus... Is that right? No. Yeah, it's Melbourne versus the Blues. That's right, isn't it? They haven't actually fixtured it, but let me just double check.
Is.
It is Melbourne versus
yeah. Melbourne versus Carlton. A game that I would have thought, like a few weeks ago, I still would have said pretty confidently that Melbourne had one of those seasons.
Sorry, just before you go on to that, the Bulldogs' percentage is 95.4%. That is fucking terrible.
It's nearly 100%, mate. You can't get better than 100%.
Okay, sorry. Carlton, what were you saying about Carlton and the Ds?
A few weeks ago, I would have said the Ds. But I feel like they've just got a bit, maybe have got a little wobbly at the wrong time, and Carlton are just surging at the right time. And Van Rooyen seems to be a bigger issue than you would have thought it would have been, I don't know, like 12, even 6 months ago. Yeah, but it's like the same as like no Buku Kamas or no whatever. Like, in that if you don't have a lot already, then when you lose what you have, you really notice because your whole game plan falls apart too.
Do you think if Carlton lose to Melbourne, that will be a fairly deflating way to finish this rags to riches story for Blues fans? It'd be underwhelming to lose to Melbourne.
Sack Fraser. I'll be the first to start it.
Burn the membership.
I can't wait to see mobile phone footage of Blues fans abusing Josh Fraser after booing him
from Melbourne in the wildcard.
Booing him on the fence one week into his coaching career.
All right. Let's leave it there. We'll be back next week to wrap up the wildcard round, and I think we'll go through the teams that didn't make the finals. We'll do our buckets or bouquets for the season.
Oh, great! This will be really good. Seeing I've paid no attention.
No, that's fine. We'll just do it all on vibes. And I've been saving some excellent pocket profiles, some vintage pocket profiles, including BT, Jason Dunstall, and my favourite one, a kind of obscure Geelong player called Michael Schultz. We'll get to that one next week because there's a lot to discuss in his pocket profile.
All right.
If you want to support the show, the best way to do that is on Patreon. There is a link in the show notes. Sign up for any amount, weekly subscription. You get early episodes, you get ad-free episodes, plus there is a whole tranche of archive material there for you to enjoy. And that's about it. You don't have anything to plug, do you? You're just living large.
Yeah, no, well, I will plug the other shows in this feed because maybe you only come here for our football show, but we have other shows here. TOFOP, which is the show Charlie and I originally started. This was just a spin-off of that show. So if you enjoy us talking about footy,
people got annoyed
us talking about footy.
Yeah.
So we separated that conversation out, but the original podcast still remains and you can listen to that. I have Wilosophy. Charlie has the video store as well. And there are, a whole bunch of other shows here. So if you like them, and if you like this show and you think somebody else might like it as well, share it around. That's always very helpful to us.
And we'll be back again next week. Play on, not 15.
Ball.
Little footy-loving dickheads, dreaming about a Premiership Cup. We love our clubs, but they never win. 2 flags in 100 years. That shit house. If you think we'll be insightful, clever, or just well researched, we're here to say that's not the case. We'll just go out and wing it. We are 2 guys, 1 cup.